A positive day on the JSE, over 10 billion rand passing through the market. We saw a nice rally yesterday. We're once again in positive territory, and it was really the industrials and the resources that pushed us ahead.
Yeah, there seemed to be quite a lot of sort of momentum in the market today, just given quite a tumultuous week. But yeah, we would still be quite cautious. I mean, you mentioned the S&P downgrade of the US. I mean, that hasn't gone away. The long-term problems still persist. And I guess we're back at where we ended the week off Friday last week.
Let's look at Naspers. I mean, it was up 5.36%. We know that it's rallying basically in sympathy, if I could say that, with the likes of Tencent, which has been rallying in China as well. We've seen these kind of movements before on Naspers, to the upside and to the downside. Do you think we could see a bit of a sell-off tomorrow?
Look, our concern on Naspers is not whether we see a sell-off tomorrow. It's just the valuation of the stock has gone from a sort of a 15 PE to sort of 35 times, largely driven by Tencent. It's very much a story of the tail wagging the dog, and a large part of your valuation now being tied to sort of Tencent, which is a very highly valued stock.
Would you be buying Naspers at this point? I mean, you're talking about being worried about the valuation, but then again, we know that the company is positioned for fantastic growth.
Look, it is a great company, and they have a good track record. But I mean, if you go back to 2001 to 2002, they were also sort of positioned for great growth just before the last tech bubble burst. So no, these valuations, 35 times earnings, I think there's probably better value elsewhere.
Bidvest also rallying today, up just over 5%. We saw Implats up almost 5%. MTN again of 4.67%. Any particular reason that we've been seeing such strong buying into the industrial space today, Johnny?
No, I just think it sort of just flows back into the market. Perhaps some guys getting back into the market given the sell-off that we had earlier in the week.
Looking at the Competition Commission, we know that they've also been relatively busy. We've seen some interesting comments coming through from WBHO, from Murray and Roberts as well, saying that they're working very closely with the Competition Commission. And then we heard today that they are going to be withdrawing a case against the likes of Clover. We know that the milk industry has also been very much under the spotlight. We also heard news this week, the Free World Coatings and the Kansai Paints possible merger, and a lot of rules that have come to the fore as well. What can we read into this, Johnny? Do you think that it could deter those foreigners that are interested in South Africa to look elsewhere for business?
Well, we often talk that South Africa needs foreign direct investment, yet we continue to put hurdles in place for those kind of transactions. We saw that with the Kansai and Free World deal. Thankfully, thankfully Kansai has decided to proceed with that acquisition, so that will go ahead. But I don't think the Competition Commission made it easy, and neither did the sort of board of Free World, which we think was quite obstructive during this entire bid process.
PPC also out with trading updates. More bad news coming through for the cement producer. Johnny, any idea in terms of when we could see things turning around, or do you think a lot hinges onto what we could see coming through from government and in terms of the tender process and when the overall construction space starts turning around?
I've previously talked about the paralysis that we have in local and sort of central government with respect to tenders, so we do need to see that turn around. Also, though, a large part of PPC's product, cement, obviously goes into residential housing. Residential housing prices are not strong. That is not going to necessarily spur people to build new houses if you can't really sell the existing houses at current market prices. So there will be a turnaround, but it could still take some time.
Altech's full year headline earnings per share down around 15%. I chatted with the CEO Craig Venter a little earlier today, talking about acquisitions definitely still on the agenda. They will still be focusing on black economic empowerment deals. And then Jeffrey Hedberg is the new Chief Operating Officer of the company. What are your prospects for Altech going forward?
Look, they had a particularly poor sort of first half, but the second half definitely has some sort of encouraging results. So the operating margin improved quite nicely from below 8% to above 8%. They're still talking about being able to push the margins a lot higher in Netstar, their vehicle tracking business, and then some of the problems that they had in East Africa with respect to sort of broadband and their data centers. That should also come through quite nicely next year. The stock's not expensive on sort of 10, 11 times earnings. It looked relatively cheap to us, and we think the appointment of Hedberg as well as COO could be a good move long term.